in this great. I believe in Nigeria. I believe in the love. All the things that we deserve. The team and the unity. I believe in Africa's progress. I believe if we tell. All the vast land we've got. Yes, I know we can build a palace. I believe in peace. They should be found now, bro. Agriculture is peace. You make that this time. Project the goodness with integrity. Agriculture is peace. United we stand. Preaching the goodness with integrity. The land is green. Let's make the fallow land yield its fruitfulness. The land is green. Youth come over and come back to the farmlands. The land is green. We build up the nation with food spread to the coast. The land is green, yes. The land is green. Agriculture is peace. United we stand. Preaching the goodness with integrity. Agriculture is peace. United we stand. Preaching the goodness with integrity.
Ukoma noma dan muciyar da kasar mu. Noma dan mu dawo da arzikin mu.
Agriculture, culture, Genti, lifetime and farming. Draw China, same thing the yellow faka and their funding. All come on Nigeria if you to go what you mark and agriculture be the best.
Jebo mi shahina wa o, every kosisa amajalo. Iwe kiko láì sí ọkọ àti àdá òrìgbé o. Agriculture is peace. United we stand. Preaching the goodness with integrity. Agriculture is peace. United we stand. Preaching the goodness with integrity. Farm corner, get back connect you. Farm corner, agriculture is peace. I believe in my future.
Ìwé kíkọ́ láì sí ọkọ́ àti àdá kò ì pé o, kò ì pé o. Iṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀ níṣẹ́ ilẹ̀ wa.
Good afternoon. You are welcome to this edition of Agreenvolution. It's a program that comes on your airwaves every Saturday on Light Radio. To be a part of the program, you can join us live on Facebook at Light Radio and also on Twitter at The Light Radio, and also see us live on YouTube at Light Radio. You can listen to us live on Radio Garden at Light Radio. Today's program on Agreenvolution, we shall be looking at the current trends in the agricultural industry. But before we go deep into that, I am AIYEDUN LATEEF. Agreenvolution for today shall be looking at the recent hike in prices of products in agriculture. To be specific, we shall be focusing on livestock feed, its impacts in the coming months, and this is a test to farmers on how they can adapt to make their farm survive. But before we go into the depth of that, let us give you a details, because recently the federal government, led by President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, appointed portfolios to the ministers that were nominated, and the Agricultural Ministry coincidentally was given Abubakar Kyari as its minister. President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Wednesday appointed Senator Abubakar Kyari as the new Minister of Agriculture and Food Security after the National Assembly confirmed his nomination. Kyari, a former senator representing Borno North Senatorial District, was previously acting national chairman of the All Progressive Congress APC. He was appointed to the position in July 2023 following the resignation of Abdullahi Adamu. Kyari has a long and distinguished career in politics. He was first elected to the House of Representatives in 1998 and served until 2003. He then was appointed Commissioner for Water Resources in Borno State, a position he held until 2005. In 2007, he was appointed Managing Director of the Rural Water Supply Agency in Borno State. Kyari returned to the House of Representatives in 2011 and served until 2015. He was then elected Senator for Borno North Senatorial District in 2015 and re-elected in 2019. Kyari is a recipient of the Nigerian National Honor of Commander of the Order of the Niger, CON. He is also a member of Board of Trustees, Nigerian Institute of Management. Also, President Tinubu has appointed Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi to serve as Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security. Having a new minister, what are the things that the minister, because when you are coming into office, you have lots of challenges that you need to overcome. Now, the new minister in person of Abubakar Kyari has met lots of potential troubles. I won't say there are troubles, but there are big challenges due to the fact that the recent hike in prices as a result of the subsidy removal has actually led to a lot of issues in the agricultural industry, from crop production to livestock production. On the program today, we shall be looking at the impact, what is to be expected, and what is masking the potential effect of these issues. Because our livelihood is a function of what we eat, and agriculture is the golden edifice. Because you may be looking at agriculture like it is just a word, but I will tell you that agriculture is an edifice. Why do I call it an edifice? Because agriculture itself is bigger than whatever edifice you can think of. Because we have countries that are subsisting on agriculture, that is funding their economy perfectly. So it's only because probably Nigeria is depending on oil. This may account for why we are facing all these issues. Let's go for this short break. When we return, we shall continue from where we stopped. Stay tuned.
Ìṣàpá láìsí iyán àti ẹ̀gúsí kò ì pẹ́ o, kò ì pẹ́ o. Iyán àtẹ̀bà ló ń jẹ ilé wa, ẹni kò jẹyán á jẹ̀bà tó tutù. Wọn kò fetí sílẹ̀ sóhun tólùkọ́ kọ́ wọn. Olùkọ́ ní kó kàwé wọn sì máa ṣeré ká. Wọ́n á jẹun wọ́n gbọ́dọ̀ roboto. Iṣẹ́ ìyẹn kì í ṣe tiwọn. Eré ṣáni tiwọn. Dòdò àti ráìsì kò gbọ́dọ̀ kọjá. Wọ́n á jẹun wọ́n gbọ́dọ̀ roboto.
Welcome back from that short break. If you are just joining the program, this is Agreenvolution on Light Radio. It's a program designed to give you insight to issues in agriculture. And as a matter of fact, we deal with issues that are technical and also trendy issues that is relating to agriculture. The program focuses today on the incessant hike in prices of feed. As a matter of fact, how and why, or how the farmer needs to adapt. Because in every situation or challenge, it's either you look for a way to adapt while you plan to overcome. Now, for those of us that are into crop production, you understand that there was a time during one of the episodes of this program I was talking about us satisfying our local consumption before we begin to now export. While I was saying all those things, I gave examples of you having a family, your kids are yet to be fed, then you are giving food to your neighbor. That is what Yorubas called Adaranita Madaranile. In agriculture, and considering our population in Nigeria, we have our population to our advantage. We shouldn't say because we want to be or we want to earn forex at all cost, because in no distant time there will be a difference between what ought to be and what is expected, because now what we are doing, what ought to be and what it is, rather currently we are doing what it is. However, what ought to be is what we are supposed to be doing, because that is what will bring sustainability to whatever we are doing. Agriculture, like I always said, is not a profession that you do out of I have money. You need to seek knowledge before you go deep into it. The hike in price, we've had lots of farmers complaining, saying all sort of stuff about how do we move ahead, what do we do, how do we sell, how much do we sell chicken. Remember last year December, people sold chicken for as high as 15,000, 14,000 naira, one broiler chicken. And looking at that, you begin to imagine if price of all the super starters, the crumble starters, has risen from that particular rate. I'm talking about then we were buying around 9,800. Now, some of all these crumble starters are sold on the average of 14,500 to 15,000 naira. That is almost double of how much we were buying before. Can you now imagine? That's almost 50% rather. Can you now imagine how much people will eventually want to sell their beds this December? In the end, we all heap the blame on the economy. I'm not saying the economy does not have an impact in this. However, we also as individuals has an impact in this. A couple of days ago, the Feed Industry Passion Association of Nigeria had a meeting at one of their members' office. I know they were deliberating a lot about feed, what can be done. And then the current president, Chief Isidanso, said something about the federal government opening up maize importation and placing a ban on soya bean seed exports. This is similar, if not the same, with what I said about a couple of months ago. Because how do we as individuals begin to produce? Nigeria is known to have fertile soil. There's hardly any part of Nigeria where you go to that you won't find fertile soil. Even on rocks in Nigeria, we have plants that are growing there. Let me give you the brief of what we are facing. The poultry feed prices in Nigeria surged about 164% in 3 years. The average price of poultry feed in Nigeria rose to at least 168% in the past 3 years, a huge surge that has underlined the scale of Nigerian food inflation in the last few years. On average, a 25 kilogram of poultry feed made mainly of maize, soybean, wheat, and millet rose from 3,600 naira in 2019 to 8,500 naira and 10,000 naira in July 2022, according to market surveys by CJID. The cost is felt daily in homes. Families pay more for chicken and eggs. A broiler sells for between 5,500 naira and 7,000 naira now, as against 1,500 and 2,500 naira in 2018, while a crate of egg grows from 800 naira to 1,800 naira. Food prices in Nigeria accelerated by 20.6% in June over the previous year, the fastest pace in 11 months, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Prices of goods and services have skyrocketed, stoked by several factors. Inflation worsened, however, in 2019 after the government closed borders to check smuggling and boost rice production. Nigeria poultry industry is worth about $4.2 billion, according to United Nations, the FAO. Is a major protein source for over 200 million people, but the sector, which contributes 9 to 10% to the GDP, has struggled in the last 3 years. Poultry feed has tripled since the business was started by some. However, farmers say they require approximately a kilogram of starter to feed one broiler. That means you need 1 kilogram of starter to feed one broiler from week 1 to week 3. They need about 3 kg of starter feed for another 3 weeks, and between week 7 and 8, a broiler requires about 2.5 kg of finisher feed. This totals to about 650 kg or 26 bags of feed for 100 broilers, which is now about 247,000, as against what would have been 4 years ago to be about 93,600 naira. When you look at the change between 247,000 and 93,000, that gap is wide. And how do farmers break even? Apart from the fact that farmers gamble a lot with respect to what they are doing, the recent increase in price of feeds has actually dealt a lot of blow on them. So on the program today, we shall be doing a little bit of mathematics to help the farmers in aspects where, how they can adapt. Because it's important that as farmers, we should understand that all these are problems and we need to look for solutions. And by virtue of the program, we shall give you heads up on how you can overcome this trouble. Vis-a-vis, you need to be good to people around you. Why do I say you need to be good to people around you? Last year, December, I remember raising my beds with around, let's say, 4,000, between 3,500 and 4,700, due to the ones that had their mortality. And I sold for someone at 7,000 naira. The person went to market and started selling at 14,000 naira. Look at the difference. The person sold at 14,000 naira. That is double of how much I sold to her. This is a problem associated with humans, especially Nigerians, because we are so greedy that we always feel like everything should be for us. Now, looking at the mathematics involved in this, let us painstakingly look at the issue from the information that I read out earlier, that you need about 650 kg of feed for 100 beds in 8 weeks. And assuming the monetary value of that 650 kilogram is 247,000. That means one bed after 8 weeks would have worth 2,470 naira. And after 8 weeks, if your beds are well fed, they should be within the range of 2.5 to 3 kg if they are well fed and they are well managed. Now, if you are raising broilers for 8 weeks and your target is probably December, you need to calculate 8 weeks from December 20 or December 23. Then you calculate 8 weeks back. Then when that 8 weeks falls back is when that week was when you are supposed to get your beds. But most Nigerians, because we do things differently and wrongly, we tend to raise broilers for 16 weeks. I've seen people raise broiler for 16 weeks, for 15 weeks. I've seen it. But broilers are not birds that should stay that long on farm. Broilers are birds that should stay between 6 to 8 weeks on farm. The chicken you eat, when you buy grilled chicken or when you go to all this fast food, the chicken you eat are between 5 weeks 3 days to 6 weeks. I can say none of them will get to 8 weeks, because the longer your birds stay on your farm, the more risk you are prone to losing them, the more money you'll be spending, because their feed consumption will increase, and the rate of the feed conversion ratio will reduce vis-a-vis the feed efficiency. So these are the gimmicks that are around it. On the norms, as farmers, like I always advise, you are supposed to have a consultant. What are the roles of your consultant? To give you professional advice, to give you business advice, by all these business development ideas, because you are paying your consultant to be able to help you to manage your business. So it's funny when I get farmers or see farmers that have close to about 1,000 birds, and they begin to do garbage in, garbage out. Garbage in, garbage out is not for a farmer that has about 1,000 birds. You can be trying garbage in, garbage out when you have 10 birds or 20 birds. But when you look at the economic implication, if you are investing about 300,000 naira on your birds, and at the end of the day, you now feel like you want to do garbage in, garbage out, and garbage out on your 300,000. You know the value of 300,000 in today. What if that 300,000 goes down the drain as a result of you not doing the needful? So it's important and imperative that we understand the nitty-gritty of what we are doing. Now, let me revert us back to what I was trying to explain earlier. About 4 years ago, it will cost you about 930 naira to raise one bird between day old and 8 weeks. On the standard of 100 birds, a bird will be 930 naira. Today, on the average, I don't know what would have transpired within the course of the week to now with respect to feed prices, but if you need 650 kg of feed, that 650 kg is for 100 beds rather. So for 100 beds, that means for 200 beds you need 1,300 bags. That is 1 ton and 300 bags and 300 kg rather. So it's important that we understand. So as farmers, please let us try to seek knowledge before we go into the depth of this. We shall go further with the details when we return back from this break. Do stay with us.
Ìṣàpá láìsí iyán àti ẹ̀gúsí kò ì pẹ́ o, kò ì pẹ́ o. Iyán àtẹ̀bà ló ń jẹ ilé wa, ẹni kò jẹyán á jẹ̀bà tó tutù. Ìṣàpá láìsí iyán àti ẹ̀gúsí kò ì pẹ́ o, kò ì pẹ́ o. Iyán àtẹ̀bà ló ń jẹ ilé wa, ẹni kò jẹyán á jẹ̀bà tó tutù. Ìgbọràn wọn délé ìwé, wọn kò fetí sílẹ̀ sóhun tólùkọ́kọ́ wọn.
Welcome back from that short break. Now, as I was saying, if you need 650 kg of feed to feed 100 birds, it means that you need 26 bags of feed. Now, for 26 bags of feed, assuming on the average that a bag is 15,000 naira, that means you need 390,000 naira for feeding for 100 bags. Now, on the assumption that I'm talking about for 8 weeks, which is 2 months, that you spent 40,000 naira on drugs and vaccines, that means you must have gotten for your expenses to be up to 430,000 naira. So let's imagine that you hire a consultant for 100 beds. I'm just trying to imagine here, because most people will say when we pay a consultant, kí ló fẹ́ ṣẹ́kù, kí ló fẹ́ jójú èrè tiwa. But I'm telling you that you have lots of gain left on the assumption. Let's have it at the back of our mind that your beds will be between 2.5 to 3 kg, and you have 430,000 naira apart from you paying your worker. Now for 100 beds, you can still run 100 beds yourself. But if you are hiring someone, you can hire someone very close to your area. Let's assume you are paying that person 10,000 naira per month, and for 2 months, that's how much? With 430,000, that's 450,000. Now let's now assume that your consultant per visit, you are paying your consultant about, let's say, 5,000 naira, and your consultant comes once a week. That means in a month is 20,000 naira. Then for the whole stretch, that's another 40,000 naira. That means you spend 490,000 on the beds. Now, if your beds are weighing between 2.5 to 3 kg, which is one of the most common weights that are sold in December, that means each bed would have been on the average of 4,900. Now, let's assume that you have 5% mortality, and then 5% of 100, that's 5 beds. You now divide this 490,000 naira, divide by 95. That is 5,000. Let's say 5,200. It is 5,157 naira. But let's say it's 5,200 per bed. I'm doing this calculation based on the current feed price. It's about 5,200 naira. Even after the 164% increase in price, one broiler of about 3 kg is yet to even cost up to 6,000 naira. Yet, our accidental farmers sell broilers at a rate of 10,000, 14,000 last year. They sold it at that price. So automatically, when you look at it, the bulk of the hike in prices of things in the country today, most especially when it comes to agriculture that I am a part of, because I know the rudiments of all this production, is a function of our people always wanting to earn more than what is expected. Now, what will be bad if you raise your beds with 5,200 naira and you decide that you want to make a gain of 2,000 naira on every bed? A gain of 2,000 naira is not too much, it's not too small. That means you are selling at 7,002. Let's now round up everything, 7,500. It is not even up to the amount they are selling a 3 kg bed December last year. It shows that most of the hike of what we are complaining as individuals when it comes to agriculture is a function of deliberate hike in price. Fine, maize, soya prices may have gone up, because I understand that a kilo of maize now sells for between 420 naira to about 460 naira. While GNC is around 360 naira or thereabout, and soya is around 370 or thereabout. These are the bulk or the basis of the livestock feed production. Let's now look at the other aspect that most people are not focusing on. Which aspect of agriculture feeds the livestock industry? It is the crop production. Crop production is very important, and even in my own opinion, crop production is the most important aspect of livestock production. Why? Because the feed you'll be giving to your animals will be gotten from the soil. So automatically, in agriculture, it is an end-to-end. You plant your crops, then you use the fruits, because the maize or the corn that we are talking about is a fruit from the maize plant itself to feed your animals. So, and when we now look at it, every aspect of agriculture, be it crop production, soil science, crop production and environmental protection, animal nutrition, processing, even in fact when it comes to animal economic, agricultural economics itself, all these aspects are instrumental in making sure that as a farmer you operate at a gain. I was telling a farmer recently that even if you have, considering how people sell in Nigeria today, when it comes to livestock. If you have 20% mortality, you still make a gain in broiler production. And it will also interest you to know that one of the ways by which you can adapt to this change is by diversifying. Now, how do you diversify? Which is one of the most important roles that your consultant should play in your agricultural adventure. When we say diversification, I'm not asking you to pick your money from agriculture and go and start investing in oil shares. You may do that if you so wish. But however, if you want to diversify, you can go into crop production. I know of a farm in Kwara State that the maize they use in their farm, the farm capacity is going to about 30,000 beds. But the maize they use on their farm, the maize they use till December, they have it in their silo now. And the maize they use on their farm, they plant 65% of the maize they use on their farm. They plant it on their own land. So if that farm can do that, what is stopping most of these multinational farms? Because I have some farms that are multinational, but you won't know they are multinational because they are operating under proxy of local production. There was a time I met a farmer. He said he has 4,000 broiler birds and he doesn't have any consultants. How do you have 4,000 birds and you don't have consultants? 4,000 broiler birds on daily basis, they will be consuming not less than 150,000 naira worth of feed on daily basis, and you don't have a consultant. So, as far as I'm concerned, the majority of the problem we have with this industry are orchestrated or are being as a result of our own negligence. As a farmer, you need knowledge of 3 basic things in farming. One of the basic knowledge you need knowledge of record keeping. Because if as a broiler farmer or as a crop farmer, if you don't keep record of your expenses, the growth of your animal or your crop, how do you know if you are making a progress? I know most of us measure progress as a result of I've planted so number of maize. In 6 months, in 3 months, it will come out, I'll sell. Another aspect of our attitude that is posing lots of threats or leading to this hike is that fresh maize, most of us that eat boiled maize or roasted corn, we are indirectly contributing to this. Because the quantity of roasted corn that is consumed in Lagos alone, if it is dried, will be more than 20 tons. The quantity of maize consumed as boiled or roasted in Lagos alone in 1 week, if they are dried, will be more than 20 tons. Because you can imagine there's a woman around one of the pharmacies I consult for. This woman brings 3 sacks of fresh maize, cooks everything and sells everything every day, Monday to Saturday. And she's not the only one selling maize around that area. There are like 6 very close to each other. So automatically when you look at it, it is here in Nigeria that we buy a cob of maize for 100 naira 150. I remember there was a time a particular picture was flying around social media that the cob of maize, which is not going to kuku was labeled, I think, 5 pounds. And people were now like, what's the essence of this kuku? It was packed in polystyrene packaging and sealed with all this nylon stuff. Even maize was advertised as 7 pounds. That's in the UK. But here, everything, we have zero planning with respect to agriculture, and we do seasonal agriculture. And seasonal agriculture happens to be one of other problems that we have. A population of a country that is more than 200 million practicing seasonal agriculture will always have food shortage. So automatically, if you want to come out of this food shortage, the lands between all these mega cities going from Lagos to Ibadan, most of the lands have been bought and are used for industries, lands that are good for agriculture. I think it's time, if actually the present administration meant what they said by declaring a state of emergency on food security, I think it's time there needs to be a decree on land use. It's not just about earning money on land use or buying land. Some land are supposed to be set aside and made compulsorily only for agriculture. When I mean compulsorily, I mean anybody that wants to buy those lands must be someone that wants to use it for agriculture. Real estate business is now top notch in Nigeria. If there are areas should be highlighted, should be marked for residential, while some areas should be left alone for agriculture. I always say this: when you are leaving Lagos, you are going to Ibadan. If you count number of industries you have left and right from Lagos to Ibadan, you will count more than 60 companies, 60 industries. Yet we are still complaining there is no job. Around from Berger to Mowe alone, you count not less than 10. Yet you are still complaining no job. But the funniest thing is that when you get into these industries, you get somebody, just one person, working in where 5-6 people are supposed to be working, which means there is, would I call it underemployment or excessive usage of employees. So automatically, when we look at all this and compare and contrast the problems that we have as a nation with respect to agriculture, it is our own self-inflicted problems. If you are opportune to see some videos, we uploaded some videos on our Facebook page sometimes ago, where just one lady, the lady is 23 years old, just one lady in the US manned about 5,000 hectares of land. However, that was commercial scale. What stopped Nigeria from having commercial scale production of maize or any food crop? They have all this equipment, that the equipment is powered by a tractor. It harvests. As it's harvesting, it would remove the corn fruit from the cob, and it pumps it into a truck that will convey it to the silo where they are stored. But here, what do? Any land, either community land or personal land, people are just striving. Let me just get more money, build a house. Most of our money are used in building houses. Now, as individuals or farmers, the sustainability and adaptability of our farm is a function of how prepared we are. Let's go for this short break. Then we'll give you the concluding part of the program by reeling out how you can adapt to the current trend in the agricultural industry as a result of hike in prices of food and feed.
Iyán àtẹ̀bà ló ń jẹ ilé wa, ẹni kò jẹyán á jẹ̀bà tó tutù. Ìṣápá láìsí iyán àti ẹ̀gúsí kò ì pẹ́ o, kò ì pẹ́ o. Iyán àtẹ̀bà ló ń jẹ ilé wa, ẹni kò jẹyán á jẹ̀bà tó tutù. Wọn kò fetí sílẹ̀ sóhun tólùkọ́ kọ́ wọn. Olùkọ́ ní kó kàwé wọn sì máa ṣeré ká. Wọ́n á jẹun wọ́n gbọ́dọ̀ roboto. Iṣẹ́ ìyẹn kì í ṣe tiwọn. Eré ṣá ni tiwọn.
Welcome back from that short break. If I just join the program, this is Agreenvolution on Light Radio. It's a program designed to give you insights to issues in agriculture. And we've been talking about the recent hike in feed prices and how farmers can adapt. We've given analysis of how farmers can still make profits by calculating with current price of feed in the industry, focusing on broiler because that happens to be the most expensive feed. And as a farmer, how can you adapt and survive this terrain? Before we go into that, I would like to also give us insight about one thing. In the coming months, if nothing is done with respect to feed hiking prices, immediately schools resume because we are on holiday. Schools are on holiday now, so we don't know there is issue. Egg prices may rise because you can't compromise the feed that you administer to laying birds. Secondly, you need high technical knowledge to manage laying birds, and then laying birds stay on the farm for at least 18 months to 24 months, which means only few farms can be able to withstand the pressure of this economic turmoil that we are experiencing currently in the industry. For those of us that are small and medium scale farmers, that we are thinking of what we can do and we don't have any other means except agriculture, you can decide to go into crop farming. When I mean crop farming, you can go into maize. Maize farming, maize will always be marketable at any time of the year. Maize will always be marketable at any time of the year. You can decide to go into cassava production. You can decide to go into any other crop production that you feel you want to go into. But before you do that, please seek knowledge, because it's that knowledge that will guide you while you are going through. Or follow someone with Sabi road, because if you don't follow person with Sabi road, you feel lost for that road. Then apart from that, I talked about diversification the other time. Diversification in this industry is not the first time it's happening. Sometimes in 2019 it happened. 2019, 2020, during the COVID era, it happened. When people started downsizing their farm, some were investing into broiler production. Similar thing is bound to happen now, because broiler stays about 6 weeks on your farm. You know, if you want to withstand any pressure, it's within 6 to 8 weeks that you withstand that pressure. But for layers, it's an extended pressure which only few can be resistant to. So if you feel, peradventure, you have about 5,000 laying beds and you feel the industry, I know it will be hitting you hard. I have a client that has laying beds about 1,500, and he has the new upcoming ones that are 3,500. That's about 5,000 beds. The best thing someone similar to that kind of person can do is to downsize, either sell off the adult ones or manage the small ones till they attain point of lay or point of cage, then sell part of them off, maintain the rest, and invest in broiler production. However, if you want to invest in broiler production and you have, because there are issues now, issues like pricing, because I heard from a reliable source that live weight cost price for broiler that people buy now in Lagos is 1,050 naira, and pan in Ogun is recommending 1,500 naira, and people, the off-takers, want to buy at 1,050 naira. Now tell me, how would the farmer have or make gain, considering the fact that the farmer is buying feed at about 15,000 naira? So it shows that the farmer has lots of brain work to do. As a farmer, how do you reduce this brain work? Is by getting someone that knows the nitty-gritty of the business you are into. By getting a consultant that will hold your hand and take you through the journey. Diversifying into broiler production is very easy, but how do you market? That's another challenge. Because marketing is one of the greatest challenges in production. It's easy to produce, but if you are producing without selling, that is where economics comes in. If you are producing without selling, you are just wasting your time. So before you produce, you need to look, who am I selling to? Do you want to sell yourself? Are you selling to direct consumers? Are you supplying eateries? Do you have link to where to whom you can supply, or do you have event planners around you that you can supply to? These are the questions you need to ask yourself. The route of supply, who am I supplying to, and how do I supply? Those are the first. The moment you are able to understand what, how, where, and when, because those are the 4 basic economic questions that you need to ask yourself. What do I do? How do I do it? When do I do it? And where do I do it? Now you have attained what do I do? You want to go into broiler. How do I do it? You need the knowledge. Where do I do it? You have your farm. When? You know the time that you are supposed to do it. And to whom? Which is your target market. To whom do I direct my production? That's your target market. And how do you hit that target market? It's either you go by supply or production by proxy. You produce and you sell to someone that offtakes from you, or you site an outlet very close to where you have your either your competitor or your customers, then you sell to them directly. For example, if you have farms around Ibeju, Lekki, Ekpe axis, one of the surest locations where you can site your chicken store or your meat store is somewhere around Lekki or VI. If you have a store around that area and you are producing fresh, you have lots of customers, because Nigerians I have opened that most of us are not eating the imported frozen chicken anymore. People now buy homegrown chicken, that is locally produced chicken. So as a matter of fact, it's important and imperative that we understand that apart from the fact that production is important, marketing also is important. And how do you do the marketing? We've seen people that are marketing their product on social media. Apart from we as youths, what we do on social media, posting all sorts of stuff on social media, following trendy topics, you have a business, whether you're in agriculture, you can reach more people on social media than you can reach one-on-one. You may be posting from today and you feel nobody is seeing what you are posting. A lot of people are seeing it, but they may not say anything. But you'll be amazed that they'll just pick a phone to call you. Do you still have this? I need it. And they'll place an order. I got an order to supply roasted catfish from a woman in Ogba, someone I've never met before, due to what I posted on my Instagram. And the woman bought from me. Then I was still running my program in University of Ibadan. So while I was going back to school, I had to stop by, supply the woman. Till today, the woman is still buying from us. So, and then apart from that, you need to look at the quality, because this now, you have lots of jargons in the market. Anytime there is hike in price of any commodity, there are lots of jargons in the market. There are lots of nonsense products in the market that people will push into the market as a result of Omara. People do not have choice. So you shouldn't just accept anything that comes your way. It is important and imperative that you check the quality of what you are buying at this time, because this is among one of those times that they will push things that you are not supposed to consume to you, and because of your own ignorance, you think, they were cheap, because let's assume they are selling a particular product for a particular price, let's say 10,000 naira. Someone will just say, no, 95. They were cheap, then you buy. Jokes apart, let us try to just lighten the mood a little. I remember there was a time, I won't mention the brand of the feed. Then I was still working with a company that produces feed. One of my unique selling points then that I used to get customers was the fact that the feed from my company, when you put it on your scale, it will be 25 kg. You can try it now. Just get a scale. Most farmers do not have scale. So I need to know that. Get a scale. If you buy this feed, try and weigh them at random. You discover that some of them are not even up to 25 kg. You may think it's nothing. It's nothing. But if you now look at how much you have bought, let's say for example, you are raising 100 broiler birds and you are buying 26 bags of feed, and each bag is short of 1 kg each. That is 26 kg. That is a whole bag and 1 kg. That is about 50,000 naira that you have lost in 8 weeks on feed alone. Now imagine what you must have lost on other things that you bought that you've been supplied not up to what you wanted. So this, among others, accounts for why we should be critical of what we are doing at this time, because in this part of the world, people take advantage of any slight opportunity. So the issue here is adapting. Now we've talked about how we as farmers can adapt, how we can fit in. People will lament, yes. I've seen farmers that will join others to lament, but they've been able to adapt to the current trend. So you waiting on someone to come to be your messiah, waiting on the government to come and do something tangible to improve the way you manage your animals is not the solution. It is you. You need to change what you are doing. If what you are doing is not getting the result that you need, change what you are doing. So you need to upgrade yourself, your marketing knowledge, your production knowledge, and you need to know your customers, because it is your customers that determine the sustainability of your business. The laws that guides, the economical law that guide other commodities also guides agriculture. The only difference there is that agricultural produce are highly perishable. That's the only difference. Apart from that, every other thing when it comes to agriculture and other commodities in the economics, they operate around the same rule of economics. So in this line, the major thing you need to do, like I said, keep your record. If let's say for example today you bought 10 bags of feed, write 10 bags of feed. You bought so drug, write it. Or perhaps by adventure you are a crop farmer, you rented tractor to clear your land. Document everything. You bought seeds, you bought herbicide, you bought fertilizer, you paid casual workers to work on your farm. Document everything. Add it or sum it all up. That is your expense. You can now decide, okay, after you must have sold your produce, and one of the way to have peace of mind while selling, one of the easiest way to have peace of mind while selling in any kind of industry is knowing your cost of production. It is when you know your cost of production that you will know how to sell. Let me just narrate what I did about 2 or 3 years ago to some people. Then I used to sell chicken by the roadside. Then I was still running my postgraduate at UI. So in December, I used to sell chicken by the roadside. And then my chicken, I had issues with them because I was not around. So the chicken did not weigh as expected. When I got to the market, people were selling their chicken 7,000, 6,000. And I know my chicken cannot compete with them in terms of size. But 2 of my chicken is more than what they present, because the gap between their chicken and mine is let's say about 1.5, about 1 kg to 500 grams, but in size, and my chicken are female. I was coincidentally, the broiler I got then were filled with female breeds, with the female gender. So I was not like, what do I do? I was right there when I was selling by the road. I was not like, what do I do? How do I beat this market? How do I penetrate these people? I have like 8 farmers, 8 people. Some were not farmers. They went to go and buy from a farm, and they came to sell with us. And I've paid for the space. I was not like, how do I penetrate this market? But everybody that was coming was going to them because their beds were bigger, not minding the price. I was not like, what do I do? Then I just thought of an economic method. I've done the calculation of my beds. I've known their cost of production. The cost of production then was less than 2,300 naira. Was less about 1,009 to 2,001. That was the cost of production then. I was not like, people are selling for 7,000. What if I change my adverts and my advert method, which I learned in all these marketing classes? What if I change my advert method and I treat my advert method to buy 2 at 5,000 naira? Initially, I was selling for 4,000. Not 6,000 naira rather. Buy 2 for 6,000 naira. And initially, I was supposed to sell for between 3,500 and 4,000. My cost of production was around 1,009 to 2,001. I've already made a gain considering that. I started selling 2. I'll just tell them 2 for 6,000, 2 for 5,500. People are now like, Eddie Emeji. When they came, carry those chicken They discover only wait no, only wait to any. People will not be like hey, you're con 7,000, meji 6,000, meji you pay me jare. At the end of the day, I ended up selling more than 120 beds in one day, which is the largest number of beds I've sold by the roadside ever since I've started selling chicken. 120 beds in one day, just one day. I sold all my beds even before December 24. I sold everything. And by December 24, 25, 26, these people were still by the roadside selling. Some of those people that bought from me collected my contacts and were calling, Shoshi Wanle, will come and pick it up ourselves. That is another marketing system. It is because I've been able to keep record. I've known my cost of production. And this has guided me to know that if I sell at 2 for 6,000 naira, I am not at loss. Because for 2,000 naira, 2,001 for each chicken, if I'm selling 2 at 6,000 naira, I've made extra 1,800 naira, 900 naira on each. So which is still good for me, because 900 naira times 100, that's 90,000 naira. So automatically in one day, I've made that gain. Outside, I've paid for the service of the person that fed them, money for feed, drug, everything. My own gain was 900 naira on every bed. In economics, there's something we call volume. The volume you sell. If you are just earning just, let's say, 7 or 10 naira on every item, the volume determines the profit that you get. Because when you sell volume, you will not be spending money to maintain the rest. Now, conclusively, one of the things that farmers should not do is tight fisting. Kemawomoja is a very bad thing at this time. Because when people does not have money to buy, but they want to try to buy, and you are trying like, no, this my chicken is 15,000 naira. You are hell bent on it. At the end of the day, you give them opportunity to reason within their mind. Can't I buy something else? Which is why some people will tell you like, but if your wares are not too expensive, they will not think twice before they buy from you. So you need to understand the marketing ethics and the marketing protocols to pave way for yourself in the markets. These, among others, are the weapons farmers can use to sustain themselves and to adapt to this current trend, irrespective of the price of feed. After you must have calculated your cost of production, adding cost of drugs and everything, it is not too much if you be like, probably you raise your bed with like, let's say 5,000 naira and you have 2,000 naira as your gain. If you have 100 beds, that means you've made 200,000 naira, which is still normal. But you wanting to earn double, at the end of the day, you won't sell all the chicken. The remaining one, you pick out of your gain to be feeding them. And the probability that you will sell them at the price which you sold before is low, because anything can happen in economics. What if the price of input comes down after that sale and things have dropped in prices? You end up losing. It happened to one of my clients that I advised that she should just look away on about 2,000 naira on each turkey. That she was not like, no, my turkey is 25,000 naira. Anybody that is buying 25,000 naira. She ended up feeding about 10 turkeys, adult turkeys, from December till Easter. Now, you know the cost of feeding of 10 adult turkeys for a month is more than 40,000 naira in today's feed prices. Someone now fed 10 turkeys for January, February, March, April for 4 months. That is about 160,000 naira. That means she has taken from the gain that she made in December to feed those birds while going through the risk of mortality if disease attacks them. Instead of her to have lose 2,000 naira on each of the 10 turkeys, to have lost about 20,000 naira, she ended up incurring 160,000 naira extra. And at the end of the day, she didn't even get to sell up to 20,000. She sold those chicken at 18,000 naira because she was tired of feeding them. This should be an eye-opener to the farmers out there and those that are thinking of going into farming. It is not just about the production or the technicality. The marketing system that you adopt determines if you can adapt in this industry or your farm will be sustainable. If you have a poor marketing system, you will be out of the business in no time. So your marketing system should be upgraded every time. That which is why farmers are supposed to be learning day in, day out. I am AIYEDUN LATEEF Ayodeji. You've been listening to Agreenvolution on Lights Radio. Special thanks to the studio crew, from the studio engineer, the program producer, and the entire management of Lights Radio for giving us this opportunity to enlighten you on the issues in agriculture. Once again, I am AIYEDUN LATEEF Ayodeji saying thank you for listening and have a nice weekend.
Ìṣàpá láìsí iyán àti ẹ̀gúsí kò ì pẹ́.